familiar with what we do here, and welcome those new to our program, where we discuss Edward Leeds Gallen's Coral Castle and how it pertains to the modern periodic table of elements, the zodiac, and DNA. Okay, so when I first got involved with the church and certain things started happening, and then you read biblical scripture like Manoah meeting the angel of God, that's Samson's parents, and Jacob wrestling with the angel before sun came up. And they emphasized wanting to know the name of God. And at some point, you begin to roll around. How is it possible that a name like Jesus has incredible power? Example after example after example, where invoking this name brings authority. And it's brought out when they went to seize Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. He said, "Whom seek ye?" And they all fell backwards. I'm going to get into like a little philosophical intro here, and I want to tell you about something that happened the last 6 months of when I went to Bible college many years ago. So strange things began to happen, and people started going to the ministers and saying, "Hey, this weirdness is happening," and that the ministers, the teachers that had been around the block, they were not surprised at all. So there were people who their sleep was being disturbed. I don't know if you've ever heard the term the hag. It's this ugly ass woman who is at the foot of your bed or drags her hair over your body. One woman complained of this. Other people were complaining of just a presence in the room, paralyzation, sleep paralysis. All these complaints started rolling in right when the graduating class was about to occur. And they gave very simple advice. First of all, don't fight it. And this gets into like Nietzsche and these different people who deal in human psychology, where they talk about this id, this alter self identity, and the dark side of your personality. In essence, what they're saying is don't fight that, because that's a part of you that you're basically wrestling with yourself. So, and this comes up in different parts of our culture, in our stories and our music, movies, like the song "Question" by the Moody Blues. It talks about, and all this love was meant for you. That's what that line's talking about, but it's talking about the opposite, about the love being meant for you. And in this case, it's the darkness that you're trying to fight. You're fighting yourself. It's like a dog chasing its tail. So this one minister said, "Listen, stop fighting it." The other thing I learned was a lot of that stuff was from diet, because people pushed to get through 3 years of college, and they were winding down, and I was cramming a lot of activity. And a lot of people out there that have graduated college know, trying to get out the door to college can be very stressful. And your diet suffers. You're eating junk food. I will never eat macaroni and cheese out of a box again. And, you're listening to Robert F. Kennedy talk about American diet's horrible, and processed foods are very bad for this type of situation. And I learned when you start feeling electrical shocks, the electrostatic sparks that get you in your sleep, and you feel these sharp, it's like needles pricking you. That's melatonin deprivation. You're in arrears for melatonin. There's a product that's made by a company called, and I'm not getting paid for this, but Apothecary. And the company is called, what the heck is the name of it? But anyway, they have a cherry concentrate. It's fantastic. And if your sleep is being affected, it's probably because you've been jacked up on coffee. And when you're getting ready to graduate college, you're over consuming coffee. So it affects your sleep. A lot of things that people perceive as these demonic forces and stuff, a lot of it's you're fighting yourself, and your diet sucks, and your melatonin level's way off. And all you have to do is cherry concentrate works for me. I don't know what works for you, but I'm telling you, a lot of it is health related. So at some point, you know, because you've been around the block and people that have called on the name of Jesus. And in the ancient Hebrew world, it was calling on Jehovah or Yahweh. And that was done in battle, in the heat of the moment, only done in dire straits, because they were forbidden to use God's name. But they knew that name carried weight. It had power. And when you're a fledgling young Hebrew or Christian, doesn't matter what you are, you say, how can these words that we speak have this power in the physical world? And that has always been like at the back of my mind. How does that work? So over the years of understanding everything, putting it into perspective, you begin to realize why that is. So this 5-letter word, Jesus, technically it's 5, 6, 7, just like the classrooms outside the temple. Because you can use a J, you can use a Y, or an I. Technically, Jesus is the J in the Bible doesn't exist. So it's actually an I or a Y. But you'll notice that there's 5, 6, and 7 associated with his name. And there's those classrooms, the dimensions of these classrooms were 5, 6, and 7. Just want to throw that out there. But the ancient Hebrews understood that Yahweh and Jehovah, they had the Abjad system, where it's an alphanumeric system where letters equal numbers. And as you grow as a Christian, you begin to realize how that all equals. That's very scientific. And, you know, today we study sound waves, light waves, the propagation of light, the propagation of sound. And that's how this plays in to modern science. They understood it differently back in the ancient world, but you're saying the same thing. So I'll spare you the drawn-out explanation of Nikola Tesla talking about vibration, frequency, and energy. By the way, that's VFE, vibration, frequency, energy. If you got half a brain, you'll recognize that if you're a scholar to any degree and you have researched great mathematicians like Leonard Euler. Leonard Euler also used V, F, and E. His was vertices, edges, and faces for geometric shapes, Platonic solids. It's the same thing. Once you make this connection, you're like, wait a minute, you're saying that Tesla's VFE is the same as vertices, faces, edges of Leonard Euler fame? Yes. How do you think these men had these epiphanies? This is how they did it. The information, the data it's all compressed in you. When you read the Bible, which these men did, they understood the syntax and context of the ancient text. They some of them studied all the Greek legends, the Enuma Elish, you name it. These people were scholars. And they were able to connect mathematics with phenomena, vibration, frequency, energy. Okay? We'll call that phenomena, but for lack of a better term. So very quickly, I realized I was looking at this, which I recommend you get a copy of this. This is my Zodiac. Okay, I'm going to hold it up there. I'll have my editor put it up on the screen. I got to hold it. I'm sorry. But E equals MC square is right here. VEF, vibration, energy, frequency. It's right here. How about, what do you call it? Vertices, edges, and faces. Right there. You're saying the same thing different ways. You say, how is E equals MC squared? And I was stammering and stuttering and sputtering this last video. I'm sorry, I apologize. But there's days where I have it in my head and I can spit it out and it makes complete sense. Once you realize that eastward rotation is Eve and evil, okay? That's why Jesus said, take no thought for the morrow. Sufficient is the evil therein. You're worrying about this over here before the world is even spun around. He's saying, relax, take it easy. It's part of what I'm telling you. But E and the M is here. So if this is Eve, that has to be Adam. So the West, the W would be an M. And that gets into what I talked about, word letter etymology. The WM, the watchmen, midwives, you name it, anything MW combination is right here. That's Orion's belt. This vertical is Orion's buttons. We'll get into that in a minute. But you can take the E equals MC square, the Eve equals the man, the woman equals the man, and the speed of light, that's the C. Well, technically that's carbon. Okay? And technically that's the center pyramid, where they're finding these mysterious structures underneath. So the E equals MC square, you think about all of these events, what does the Bible talk about? It talks about their children, one killing the other. Then they kicked him out of the garden. God banished him, turned into a vagabond. Okay? They had to have another son to replace the dead son. Who's that? Seth. You got the energy and the mass in the square of the speed of light. Now, what was King Saul? S-O-L, speed of light. Once you realize, wait a minute, these terms are all interchangeable with Bible characters, yes. And therein lies the secret to understanding that Thor's hammer, the trident of Poseidon, which the 3 prongs on that represent the 3, 6, and 9. So once you put together, hey, knowing God's name and what it equals, there's a lot of power there. Yes, it ushered us into the modern scientific age. Okay? Did we understand all these things prior to today's modern scientific definition? Yes. They're layers of the same onion. But this group down here ain't any smarter than this group, and this group here thinks it's smarter than this group. They're not. They just had their terms different. Okay? So John Anthony West covered this. I've already been over this. So anyway, I'm going to get past this. That's the E equals MC square. You got Euler's identity. That's E to the power of E raised to the power of I pi plus 1 equaling nothing. It's E equals MC square all over again. Okay? E raised to the power of I and pi, right? E I pi plus 1. The 1 is the man. The 0 is the woman. All right? This is the plus. This is the minus. That's the 0. Vacuum energy, electronic pressure, that's voltage. This is amperage. Okay? Once you realize, oh, these terms are all interchangeable. Yes. And it ushered in these epiphanies, caused us to understand things at a higher degree than we were, enabling us. It doesn't make us better. Look at those monuments they left us. They told us, hey, we're pretty smart. We did some amazing things. But hopefully, if we can get this AI thing under control and get the machines to realize, hey, you're not the one, bro. Neither are we, technically. We've been granted that honorably. We have an honorary doctorate. We don't have a real doctorate. We've been given it's like when these Hollywood movie stars get knighted or, what do you call it? They get honorary degrees from these colleges. They didn't go to school. They were given that title as a gesture for something great they did. Someone being knighted, they obviously didn't joust and fight people and cut people up with swords. That's an honorary title. So I'm getting off on a tangent here. Don't want to get on that road. But the key to understanding the power in Jesus' name, I'm going to get into other aspects of it. That name carries with it mathematical concepts and formulas, astronomical events, and heavenly bodies, star systems, stars themselves, properties of light and matter. And putting it in another way, the Bible equals the periodic table, which equals language and alphabets of all nations. It equals math, numbers, concepts, philosophies, consciousness, astronomy, you name it. That name, Y-E-S-U-S, J-E-S-U-S, I-E-S-U-S, the magnitude of that is the Bible equals the periodic table. The Bible and periodic table equal the zodiac. Big Bang, call it what you will. Those things equal, on the center line of that temple, Solomon's temple, is all language, all alphabets, all letters. The understanding of what those letters actually mean, their place value. Letter A is given the title as the one. It's not. That is a big boo-boo. Okay? That A is the 0.5. Now, if you add 0.5 and 5, you get the 10. So that's that vertical. That's the buttons. But we're going down something we've already covered. Okay, so Jesus is actually Jesus. That S-U-S, you could say Dr. Seuss, probably where that comes from. Dr. Seuss wrote all those crazy books, right? Kids' books, teaching them what? Language. Some of the first things kids learn, Dr. Seuss books. But J Zeus, Y Zeus, I Zeus. This is your Zeus right here, kid. North, east, west, south. Z, east, E. U is W. We have already covered this, and the S is the S. Zeus. Northeast, west, south. So if Jesus' name is the Y Zeus, the J Zeus, or the I Zeus, those three are found on your center line. Those are your buttons. It represents your groin, your heart, your mind. Well, which represents which? Well, your J and your Y are associated with your groin. It's yonic and phallic. Okay? The I is your pineal gland. So that covers everything on your center line. So Jesus' name is giving you power over your self-control. So that you quit making excuses, you go out and do something with your life, you grow up, quit thinking with your lower extremities. You come to God and realize, hey, you know what? I've just totally tanked my life, face planted bad. And God's like, dust off, let's do it again. Take two, crack. All right, so there's your J Zeus, Y Zeus, I Zeus. All right? And it represents the full power of all matter and consciousness. And there's a female version to this. Look at Sarah's name. Her name was Sarah with an H and Sarah with AI. That's literally Zar AI and Zar H. Okay, but we've already covered that, I think. Get into, I did a video on my opinion, in my opinion, so I don't get sued. The movie The Matrix. Neo's the one. That makes Morpheus the two. And that makes Trinity, obviously Trinity, Trinity is three. Okay? What are their antithesis or antagonists or whatever you want to call them? Jones, Smith, and Brown. Agents Smith, Jones, and Brown. They're the same people, but bad versions. There it is. Ready? This is, in my opinion, the movie The Matrix. This is Cypher's computer screens. What do they represent? You're looking at versions of the exact same thing. This is this. It's not hard, people. Hollywood keeps rehashing the same stuff different ways, and you don't even recognize what you're looking at. By the way, DMT, Dozer Mouse, Tank, Switch, and APOC. What happens when someone has an apocryphal epiphany. They switch. Okay? So over here, you got 2 rows of 3. Wonder who that represents. Over here, you got 2 rows of 3. One's the buttons, and the other's the belt. There you go. There's the belt. There's the buttons. Same thing. You got the green screens up here, the eerie green screens with the digital rain coming down. That represents your matrix. Who's that? Mr. Smith and his 2 buddies. Who's underneath that? That would be iterations of 1, 2, and 3. Neo, Morpheus. Now here, I've been using that one, and I want to get rid of that one for a reason. But if you get this graphic, which I'm selling on my website, you'll notice I highlighted down here where Neo is, and in the same colors up here. All right, and then up here in the center line, you got the same colors, but they're spread out. Because these 3, they repeat. So if you hold it like this, okay, like Nebuchadnezzar's metal man image, if you got it upside down, that's Goliath. But anyway, we'll hold it like this. There's your center line, then an iteration outside of that, and one more iteration outside of that. Okay? And you keep coming up with this same pattern, and Hollywood just recycles it. They package it 10,000 different ways, and you buy those tickets, you buy those books, you buy those rock and roll records or disco, whatever it is, it's all in there. They're not ever leaving this right here. So this is the FSC, fine structure constant. Those are the 3 building materials of the temple. We already covered this in a different episode. It's funny how you can come up with all these mysteries by looking at this stuff and going, there's no way it's that simple. Listen to me. Have a V8 on me. Okay? I have nothing to do with the V8 company, corporation, whatever, drink. Just using that as a metaphor. But please leave here today a better person going, holy mackerel, that guy just showed me the Greek zodiac superimposed with the biblical narrative. And that applies to E equals MC squared and E to the power of I pi plus 1 equals 0? Yes. All of this up on this hemisphere of the earth, the north hemisphere, E to the power of I pi plus 1 equals everything south of that. In other words, all the matter of the known universe and the vacuum energy of the universe, the vacuum of empty space, all cancels out. It's all right there. You don't have to leave this here. Oh, I gotta go to Harvard. I gotta go to MIT. Why? It's in the Greek legends, my man. If you read the Enuma Elish the way it was meant to be read, you begin, the lights turn on and you go, hey, wait a minute. You got this Gilgamesh guy and then this weird guy, Enkidu, who, in my opinion, I can't prove it, Chewbacca's Enkidu. He's a Sasquatch, a Wookiee. You're saying the same thing 10 different ways, guys. I was talking to you earlier about quit fighting yourself. Enkidu is Gilgamesh's id. He's fighting against the wild man inside. He has to come to God and become an intellectual being, a spiritual, photonic being. Davidio, having, these braingasms instead of orgasms. That is what that is. Quit fighting your crotch. Wake up. There's an easier way. You're killing yourself. You're expending energy for no reason at all. Ever just been completely exhausted? Because you've been chasing your tail, man. There's an easier way. And these people in these colleges, man, they're good. They're real good. Oh yeah, Rene Descartes, he created the XY coordinates. No. That's the river Styx. We already covered it. But anyway, let's get into, very interesting. You look at Neo down here, Jesus between the two thieves, Praesodymium and Prometheum. Prometheum stole fire. Underneath that is uranium. I don't want to say protactinium. It's protactinium, uranium, and neptunium. That's Mary, Elizabeth, and Mary Magdalene at the foot of Jesus' cross. You're looking at the crucifixion scene right here. Yeah. That one's astounded me because when you grew up Christian, the Bible, the Hebrew Torah, and the New Testament are stripped down, only what you need versions. Like you get into Hinduism and they get into the dark side of things. They cover the black tantric side of things that the Bible does not want you occupied with. It only wants you to come to the knowledge of God. Skip all that BS, okay? And they say, a lot of that stuff was the ancient world. We don't want to bring that system into today because it got people in a lot of trouble back then. But if you're serving God for many, many years, if you're a fledgling new guy sitting on the church pew, you've only been there a year or two, listen to your preacher, listen to your ministers, listen to your leaders. You don't need to be here. But if you've been polishing a church pew with your ass for 5 years or more, and you're a big plant in a little tiny pot, you need to get off your ass and do something. Yeah, you're root bound, man. And this is part of that. You need to realize you've been bashing all these other religions and these Greek legends and the Enuma Elish. There is a boatload of data encoded in those books. That is why you look at the smartest people on the planet. They have covered those books because they know what I'm telling you. A lot of your church ministers, they'll tell you, don't look at those things. They're reading them. They're looking at it for reference, and they're seeing the connections, okay? But just know this. Everything out here is bad. That's Shiva and Kali, the alkali earth metals. That's where the sea of brass, the brass altar, that's where you are got to come in to get cleaned off, where God said to Moses, take your shoes off. You're not coming in here with them dirty shoes. That's what you got to do before you go in. And you start actually getting things done in life. You want substance. You're tired of money going out, not coming back. You're done playing games. Time to make baby. Big chief, make baby now. Big queen, need to make baby. Quit being baby. Make baby. All right, so I get off my bully pulpit again. So let's go into invoking Jesus' name has to be done in faith. There are exceptions. There are people who come to God initially and have incredible experiences. Okay, you got to be careful because those go up and they come down fast too. So there are people who invoke that name right out the gate and they get incredible results. Heard it hundreds of times. Know people for a fact that did amazing things the first time they came to God. Most of us hard cases like me, it builds up over time. So if I invoke the name of Jesus, okay, I say Jesus, right? Very rare you'll ever hear me say Jesus. I say Jesus for your sake, not for mine. But if I'm invoking Jesus' name, let me tell you something. I'm getting results every time. I'm not kidding you. I've bored holes right through the upper chambers and buildings I've lived in. Burned holes right through the sky, like my mom, Roman Catholic woman. Great ability to pray, holes through the sky for other people. Very rare my mother prayed for herself. She prayed for everybody. So it comes with time, it comes with patience, and it comes with experience and knowing, okay, understanding what you're actually doing, having the faith and confidence to realize, man, this ain't no joke. When I'm praying in some serious faith. I'm going to get results. You read where Paul said, I will have visions of God. There was no question in Paul's mind. Look it up. Paul said, I will come to visions. Very confident. Took years of practice, though. Okay, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice. So when you realize the magnitude of Jesus' name, it's like the escape button on your computer. It doesn't really do much nowadays, but back in the 90s, you got in a bind, you always hit Control Alt Escape. That was like calling on Jesus' name. Control Alt Escape or Alt Escape. It's Endgame. Okay, you see these Marvel Comics movie titles. Endgame. That's like, okay, final protective fire. Calling it in on ourselves. Why? Being overrun. Broken arrow. This is the magnitude of what you're doing. All right? Back in the day, Genghis Khan was tearing it up. He had an emissary that went before him. Okay? If that emissary showed up and said, in the name of Genghis Khan, I'm going to say this, that, and the other thing, you people better conform. If they didn't conform, believe me, all hell broke loose. When people heard the emissaries here for Khan, they were shaking. This is what demons do. Demons understand. They know. Okay? They also can look like a child. They say a child doesn't listen to what you say. They look at your eyes. That is very true. Barbers used to ask me, hey, you want to trim those eyebrows? When my son was young, I didn't trim them. Because he looked at my eyebrows and he knew Dad's mad. If I started trimming my eyebrows, he would have went, ha ha. Okay? He's a little wise guy. Invoking Jesus' name is, in my opinion, again, can't say it for fact, Neo in the subway comes to the realization, without me, my friend, by the way, Neo's here, this is Morpheus, and Trinity is the center line, right down the center of the hallway. Trinity's the buttons, okay? Morpheus is the vest, Neo is the suit, if you look at it in clothing. All right? Neo realizes Morpheus is all done unless I step up. That is the moment in the subway he realized he could defeat. Actually, I'm wrong. It wasn't in the subway. He ran. It was in room 303. Gets shot. Trinity revives him. All right? She says, I love you. He wakes up and he realizes he has full control now. That is the equivalent of a young man or a young woman hearing the pop where their head finally comes out of their rear end. But I don't want to get off on a tangent. I'll get on my bully pulpit and start banging it with my fist. So, periodic table contains all numbers, number combinations. Anything that we can conceive in the future is found in the periodic table. It's all math formula. It's all language, alphabet, you name it. It's all on there. It's all contained. It's about data compression. There's a lot going on in here. You think, oh, those are just the elements. No. No. I'll get into that in my ending here. The Bible is the ultimate source of data compression. And it contains the periodic table. They're synonymous with one another. So once you realize, wow, this is about data compression, all these metaphors and stories, I believe they're accounts. They actually happened, but they're also metaphoric. They exist in two states. Like I say, the original fathers of modern day quantum physics, they said it very well. I love the way they describe things, okay? But these things are more than the surface level. There's levels to levels. And once you realize this, you wake up to this, you realize, man, I understand now why there's power in a name. When you say Jesus with a J versus with a Y, you're actually giving, it's the same thing when God took Eve from Adam's rib. Okay, you're breaking some single thing into two. Okay, that is the essence of what's going on there. The phallic and the yonic. Okay, just like the dry land appeared in Genesis. Okay, the ocean is yonic and the dry land would be phallic in that regard. Is it always that way? No, because you got to remember, where's the fresh water located? On land. Right. Well, there's fresh water located in the salt water too. That's what the ice caps are. We won't get into it. But there's more than one way to skin every cat, so be careful. And you say, "Oh, the sea is phallic only, and the land is, rather, the sea is yonic, and the dry land is." No, time out. Don't get too ahead of yourself. We already covered Jesus. It's Zeus with extra chutzpah. That's what Jesus. That's what it is. It's Zeus right here, northeast, southwest, but with a lot more going on. And Zeus was, in essence, a magnetic monopole. Okay, you put the J prefix, and it gives it separation of the gender, male from female. Right? If that helps you any. All right, in summary, we're going to wrap it up. It all boils down to, like I said, data compression. These biblical accounts contain incredibly complex things, stuff that we haven't even discovered yet. I've heard the best description I heard about the Bible is it's the one book. If you can only take one book with you, take that book. If they ever leave Earth in hopes of starting life on another planet, they better hope that there is a Bible on that vessel. Because you could put any other book in there, but you go to that planet years later, everyone's going to be dead. You think I'm joking? I'm not. That book will cause nations to form. It will cause, oh yeah, they'll be bad. It will be wars and people fighting over stupid stuff. But ultimately, that book, there's really no way. It's almost like trying to describe God. Forget it. It's like trying, if you've ever been to your wife having a baby, trying to explain that to a guy who's about to go in for the first time and see it. Just say, guy, you're on your own. It's something you just have to go through. Or, you can see people going through buds, Ranger selection, Special Forces selection, whatever. You really can't express. It's unique to every individual. So there's a lot of data compression going on. And having a complete and perfect understanding of the magnitude of what it actually means in the scientific, etc., value that it contains is like I say, having Poseidon's trident, Thor's hammer, Zeus or Odin's lightning bolts. Right? Having the power of saying, Genghis Khan sent me and he's not happy. Or in the fledgling United States, hey, here's a letter from George Washington. He wants me to read it aloud. You got people's attention. All right, well, that concludes our episode. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out the links below. And have a good day.